think back to some of your most memorable moments as a developer. For me, in 2011, I felt empowered. In 2013, I felt inspired. In 2020, I felt supported. And then later on in 2020, I felt valued. Welcome everyone to this talk titled Developers Come First and How to Make Sure They Do, or Why Developers Come First and How to Make Sure that they do. My name is James Q Quick, and I am a lot of things, but I'm a developer, a speaker, and a teacher. I'm a developer advocate at Auth0. I get to represent two really cool tech companies as a Twilio champion and then a part of the Media Developer Expert program from Cloudinary. But I want to do a lot of reflection on this developer advocate piece. I want to talk a lot about what developer advocacy is, what it means to put developers first, how to interact with developers, and most importantly, we'll recap this at the end, how to earn developers' trust, because that's the number one thing when it comes to building advocates for your brand, for your product, for yourself, is by earning the developers' trust first and foremost. So let's take a look at really quickly what developer advocacy is. A lot of people think that developer advocacy is us just traveling the world. We go from conference to conference. We go from meetup to meetup. We go to all these really cool cities and see the landmarks and all these things. But what we actually do is really just document everything. Everything that we learn, everything that we have to give, we document it in some way. It could be a video, it could be a talk, it could be a piece of actual documentation, it could be a blog article. But our job as developer advocates is to take the things that we know and to share that. But most importantly, it's about empathy for developers, and it's about meeting developers where they are. And there's lots of different ways that you could do that. We just mentioned a few. It's all about creating content. It's about empowering developers. It's about embracing feedback. This is one of the undervalued or underappreciated aspect of being a developer advocate, is taking that feedback from the developer and pumping that back into your product, your brand, your company. It's about removing roadblocks for developers. It's about having one-on-ones with developers. There's nothing more valuable than that personal touch, that personal engagement with a developer. And it's about providing a voice and a platform for the developer that may not have had that before. So we started this off by talking about most memorable moments as a developer, and I want to elaborate a little bit on mine. So I mentioned in 2011, I felt empowered. And what happened in 2011, this was in my junior year of college, I decided I wanted to do something with Android development. I want to learn how to build Android apps. Somebody gave me a textbook and I started following the tutorials, and I got kind of bored and I realized I just wanted to build something that I cared about. So I built this Harry Potter trivia app. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I love the books. I've read them over and over again, and I wanted to create something that embraced that passion. So I created this Harry Potter trivia app. And as I did that, I was just Googling everything I needed to know to be able to build it. I was finding things out along the way. And I felt so empowered from that process. And there's a big takeaway that I got from going through that process myself, is I transformed myself, my mindset, from a consumer of technology, of applications, of things, now to a producer. After going through that process of having an idea and executing on it and building it, I realize now that the world is my oyster. As a developer, we can create anything that we want to. So I transformed that mindset of not just looking at what is, but looking at how I could change it and what could be by using the skills that I had developed at that point. A couple years later, when I started my career off at Microsoft, in 2013, I felt inspired. I went to a conference called Code on the Beach. It's as much fun as you might think. It's a conference that's on the beach with really awesome talks. They have breaks to go to the beach, and they have things out on the beach at night. And I saw a keynote demo from a really cool company, again, that I get to kind of represent today as a Twilio champion, but a really cool company in Twilio. And the demo that they gave during this keynote was they had an application where people from their phones or from their laptops or whoever was watching on whatever device they had, they could go to that website, they could add in their phone number. And then the really cool thing was, all at once, Twilio was able to send text messages or make calls, I can't remember exactly which, maybe both, to all of those numbers that had registered on that site or that had submitted their information to that site. And they were able to do this all at once, where the person is presenting on stage with a room full of audience, a room full of developers, and all of a sudden, all at once, all of their phones go off. They start making noise, they start ringing, they start vibrating. And I felt so inspired for that. I looked at the way that they did demos, and from that day forward, I changed the way that I looked at demos. I changed the way that I do talks, and I changed the way that I do demos. I want to connect with people. I want to have that sort of relationship with people, to have them be involved. We'll talk about that a lot more as we go on, but I changed the way that I do demos forever based on that presentation. Fast forward a few years to 2020. I had a scenario where I felt very supported. I was updating my personal site, and I wanted to use a headless CMS to store content for my blog articles. And there's lots of different options out there. I didn't really know where to start. I posted on Twitter, and I got lots of feedback. But I got some particular responses from some of the founders of Sanity.io. It's not really important necessarily that you know who this company is, but it's important to know that they were active in that conversation in Twitter. And then they even followed up to send me a one-on-one message with some clarifications on pricings and things like that. And based on that, I decided to try out Sanity. And so I did it in a live stream where I migrated my site to use Sanity. And it turns out there was a person, a developer advocate, Canute, one of my friends now, who was in the stream and was answering questions. And after answering questions live in that stream, in the chat, Canute joined me for a few streams after that to make sure that my experience was positive with Sanity, to remove those roadblocks for me. And I felt so supported. I felt like I had a community of Sanity as a whole, from the founders to developer advocates to other people using Sanity. I felt like I had people behind me. And the outcome of that is I became an advocate for someone else's product. This is one of the few times that this has happened to me, but I became an advocate for someone else's product. I have no stock in Sanity. I don't work for Sanity, but when I get the ability to pitch Sanity to someone, I will do it. When I get the ability to heap praise upon the Sanity product, I do that because of that experience. Something a little bit similar, later on in 2020, I felt personally valued. And I have a fairly big YouTube following at this point that's grown a lot in the last year. And I get lots of contacts and email of people reaching out to say, hey, I created this project. I did this thing. Would you check it out and give me some sort of review? Which, like, I would love to spend time exploring all these different products, but I just don't have time. So I responded, no, unfortunately, I don't have time, because if I were to give you a review, I want to make sure it's something that's valuable for you, and I just don't have the time or capacity to do that. And so that was the end of that conversation. A few weeks later, I decided to try out another platform that had reached out to me, and it was a way for people to book one-on-one time with me and pay for that one-on-one time to have a conversation. Whatever they wanted to ask, they could. Career conversations, technical conversations. And so I joined one of these one-on-ones and pretty quickly figured out that Miguel from Quez Forms had paid to book that time with me after having sent that email to me a few weeks prior. So he had been the one to reach out to say, hey, I'd love to get your feedback on this product. Not only did he accept my answer at the time, but he then took advantage of an opportunity that came about to have that one-on-one time with me and to pay for it. I was open specifically during that time, and he valued my opinion and my time enough to pay for that and invest in that to get that sort of relationship and conversation going with me. So for the second time, I've done this has happened a few times, I became an advocate of someone else's products. And I felt kind of like this. When other people understand your value, sometimes even more than you do, how much more empowering, how much more inspiring, how much more supported, how much more excited could you feel as a developer? And I share all of these stories to kind of lead you down one question during this talk. And the question I think you should walk away with, the question you should focus on as I talk about these experiences, how to interact with developers, how to gain their trust, is what if you could be the driving force behind one of those outcomes? Those outcomes of making people feel inspired, of empowering people, giving them the tools to succeed, to build a product, making friends, making relationships. What if you or your product or your company could be the driving force behind one of those outcomes? And as you think about that, I want to reflect back on those impactful moments and think about what all of those moments have in common. And as we do that, I want to think about things that are more fun when. So concerts are more fun when you know the artist, when you know the lyrics, when you know the music. Sporting events are more fun when you know the team, you know the history of the team, you may know individual players on the team. YouTube videos are more fun when you know the creator. Either you know that person personally or you follow that person for a while. Those videos become more fun and entertaining the more you know that person or that group of people who's creating that content. And then to take it a little more general, content is more fun when you know the flow, when you've kind of been there before. You're on the inside of the jokes. You're in the flow of the content. An example of this would be a podcast. You know, at the end of the podcast, they're going to do a joke and a cheesy transition or something, whatever that is. You get used to that flow and you feel like you're part of something when you have that sense of flow for content here. So do you want to know why that is? You want to know all of those things are more fun when, what all those things have in common. And it's actually really pretty simple. People want to feel connected. People want to feel like they're part of something. They want to feel like they're heard. They want to feel like they have a voice. They want to feel like they know people and know what to expect, and they're a part of that thing. That's what all of those scenarios and those impactful moments have in common. People want to feel connected. So part of this next question, the logistical things of, okay, people want to connect, people want to feel connected. Where can you actually connect with developers? Well, one of the interesting things with COVID in 2020 and 2021 and some of the implications of that is we've even more so embraced the virtual world than we have had in the past. We've had Zoom for a long time. We've had virtual conferences before, but we're seeing more and more of those types of things the longer we've had to adapt. It's something that I've adjusted for at my work, where I spend a lot more time on live streams and videos and virtual conferences, things like this. And that's a similar pivot that a lot of other people have had as well. So where can you get involved in these groups? Well, you can be on Twitter. If you're just active on Twitter, you can pay attention. You can follow people that are in similar technologies. You can follow people who are thought leaders in the industry. You can communicate with them. You can have banter back and forth with them. You can watch and or live stream yourself. You can watch a live stream or perform a live stream in and of itself. And it's a really unique experience where I can do this virtual conference talk and I don't really get feedback or engagement until the end when we do questions. In a live stream in Twitch, you can have constant chat. You can give people a reason to engage. You can give them things they can do, chat commands. I have some that turn on some lights behind me or change my theme in my text editor, things like that, things that let people feel like they're a part of it. We've had Slack for a long time. We've had Discord for a long time, but it's not just a work thing. It's a community thing. I've seen products and companies build out their communities using Slack and Discord. And I've created a Discord myself that we'll talk about here in a minute. And then we also have meetups. We have now the meetups that were in person for years now have become virtual, a lot of them. And you're starting to see in-person meetups become more of a thing the further we go along. So the question is, where do you interact with people? Well, because of COVID, it's more accessible than it's ever been. And remember, the goal here is to meet developers where they are. Developers are in those places that I just mentioned. They're at meetups. They're attending conferences. They're speaking at conferences. They're watching live streams on Twitch because they want to see how other developers write code. They're in all of those places. So here's a few fun examples of some of those types of engagements that I think have now become much more prevalent again because of COVID. I was asked to be part of a Twitter Spaces. This is a relatively new feature in Twitter where you can have a group of speakers kind of speaking, and it's just a voice thing that you can do from your phone. It's just on the mobile app. And you can have a group of people that are having a conversation and have a group of people that are listening to a conversation. It's not all that complicated what it is. It's actually relatively straightforward, but the impact can be really incredible. So I got to join this one to talk about developer relations, to talk with some people that I have a lot of respect for. And that was honestly a big pleasure for me. But the really cool thing was there were over 700 people that tuned in to listen to us talk. Developers are already on Twitter. Why don't we give them this genuine, unique, now new, brand new type of engagement with the people that they follow in a place that they're already at? They're already on Twitter. Now let's take that to the next level and engage with them there. Another example, I mentioned that I have a personal Discord. It's called Learn, Build, Teach. You can actually get to it from learnbuildteach.com. It'll redirect you now to the Discord server itself. And this started about a year ago with just me and 2 other people. And that community has grown now to where we have all the different channels that you see here, all the different technologies that we discuss. It's grown to about 1,600 developers. How cool of an experience is that for me to have this vision for something like Learn, Build, Teach, which I'll talk about more, to start this thing up and now have other people run with it. I'm not the most active person in this Discord. It's the community. It's people answering questions. It's people asking questions. It's people sharing the things that they work on. That's a community. Another pivot that I've gone through with, this was at work, was pivoting to streaming live. And I do this on my personal channel, but as well on the Auth0 channel. This is a pretty big pivot. We had not really done much or very little live streaming before. It's a new area for a lot of people. It's historically been very kind of focused on the game development world, but developers have kind of fallen in love with watching other developers, learning live from other developers, and having that unique experience. I mentioned I've got a few engagements in my Twitter with Twitch commands. People can send a command and they can control one of the lights back here. They can change it to a random color. They can change those lights on and off. They can change the theme in my text editor, the color scheme. They can send a command to make me drink a sip of water. They can send a command to make me do push-ups. People want to feel connected. They want to feel like they're part of it. They want to feel like their voice is heard. And your voice is heard when you're able to control something. So that experience in Twitch is truly unique. And you see a couple of these screenshots at the top and then the middle left and the middle bottom right, where you see we've got 5 or 6 different people on a stream at a time. One of them is with almost my entire Auth0 DevRel team. Another is a group stream with our friends at Okta, now that we are one, Okta and Auth0 are one. So you're able to bring multiple people together, but then also have them share and interact with all the people that are there in live in the stream. Another version of this is our Avocado Labs brand, which has gone through now a complete kind of overhaul and redesign, which I think looks really amazing. And there's 3 different tracks here. This is a platform for us, basically a platform for us to give to developers in a few different ways. So one is the learners track, where we encourage people to create a video on a given technology to help other people get started, and then give them our YouTube channel as a platform for them to get themselves out there, to get experience creating content, and get some learning material out there for other people. We also follow that up with a Q&A live stream where we have the video on YouTube, and then we encourage and really want that live then interaction inside of Twitch. The second track in here is our ambassadors track. So thinking about putting developers first, our ambassador program selfishly helps us scale our reach. If we have developers, ambassadors out there talking about Auth0, the company, if they share things about authentication, selfishly, that's very helpful for us. And that's part of it, but it's not the main part. And it's not the focus. The focus is to give a platform and a growth opportunity and a learning experience for developers who want to do more of this. They want to maybe become a developer advocate. Maybe they want to give a talk at a meetup. Maybe they want to write more. Maybe they want to create more videos. Maybe they want to live stream. But to give them a platform to do those types of things and continue to grow in it, and maybe change into a career in developer relations. Our ambassadors track is the ability to do that, focused on security. So they build technical skills, and then they have a platform to share the things that they've learned. And then lastly, we have our community hour. It's full of panel discussions. It's fun. And we play games and things like that. And this is one of those relaxed environments where developers get to engage. Developers of the world get to see us and the people that we bring on stream as regular people. Think about that feeling of connectedness. You watch a YouTube video, and I do a lot of YouTube videos, but people watch a YouTube video and they see They see just what you've put out there. They see a finished product. They see mostly no mistakes in code. They see an edited version of a video. Sometimes they're missing out on just you, on just who you are. They're lacking a little bit of that connectedness. By doing these community hours, we get to be a little more vulnerable, a little more natural, a little more personal, and really embrace some of that personal connection with developers of the community. Which, by the way, if you're interested in either creating a video for a learner's track or doing a community hour session, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to get you connected and tied into that. So we talked about several things of where can I connect with developers. How do you do it? So we talked about where, but how do you do it? And I would encourage you to be a part of the learning process, the building process, and the teaching process. And what I mean is, as people are out there learning and they have questions and they post it on Stack Overflow or Twitter or Slack or Discord or some sort of community, can you be a part of that learning process? Can you help answer a question for them? Can you help guide them in the right direction? Can you help stimulate that learning process? Similarly, as people are building things with your product or with your company, or maybe not, can you help be a part of that building process? Going back to me, one of the most empowering moments I've ever had was building that Harry Potter trivia app. And it transformed my mindset to now being a producer instead of a consumer. What if you could be that spark? What if you could be a part of the building process for someone and lead to that outcome of changing the way that they think about life, that life around them? And then lastly, the teaching process. Can you take the things that you know and can you send that back in the community? Can you invest that back in the community? Can you share the things that you know with the people out there that probably have something that they want to learn from you? One of my big things is I don't have to know more than you to give this talk. I just have to know more about one thing than you do to provide value to you. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everything about the topic that you're talking about. It's okay to not know. But if you're part of the teaching process and you embrace that teaching process, you never know what value you're going to provide to someone else. All of that amounts to my personal phrase, which is learn, build, teach. It's also the name of my Discord server. And I think just a philosophy that I want to continue to grow around that. The idea is that you spend a lot of time learning things. We all do. That's part of why you're sitting in a conference talk today. We spend a lot of time building stuff. I think developers inherently are builders. And then we teach other people how to do that, not only to help them and to benefit the community, but also to help reinforce the things that you thought you already knew. I can't tell you how much doing YouTube videos and giving conference talks has helped me reinforce topics that I thought I knew that I realized I didn't quite know as well as I thought I had before. So learn, build, teach, and simply do it in public. As you learn, share it. As you build stuff, share it. As you have things, knowledge that you want to share, that you want to teach, share it. Do it in public. I just had a live stream today with someone who created a relatively simple project. It's readme.so. And it's kind of a visual application website for generating README files. And it's really caught on, and it's led, because it was so good, and because it was done publicly, as more people saw it, more people shared it, and that has led to job offers for this person. How incredible is that, to build something in a weekend that you thought would be useful for yourself, it blow up and gain a lot of traction, and then lead to opportunities for yourself or inspiration for others or opportunities for others to contribute to your project? All of those things, learning, building, teaching, do all of them in public. As we wrap up, I want to think about, how do you earn trust with developers? This is first and foremost. I feel like developers have a sixth sense for being lied to, for being sold to, for being marketed to. Developers have this innate nature to detect that. So how do you earn trust with developers? Well, first and foremost, you create value. You create value with no expectations in return. Creating a blog article, creating a YouTube video, giving a talk at a conference. I don't have any expectations of you watching this talk. I hope that it is inspirational. I hope that it gives you a different perspective than you maybe didn't have, but I have no direct expectations of you for watching this talk. Can you create value in a way that is beneficial to others with no expectations in return? If developers see value, if people see value, they will follow. Number two is to be genuine. There's this really tough balance for me in the YouTube industry of wanting to tweak thumbnails and text and titles to be a little clickbaity to get people into my videos. And I've adapted with that. But the thing that's core with the content that I create is that it's genuine to me. It's genuine because it's something that I'm excited about. It's genuine because it's something I care about. And it's something I want to share and teach other people. It's genuine in that way. Be genuine with yourself, with your interest, with your passion, and be honest with them about if there are expectations, what your expectations are. And then lastly, just be there. My favorite show is New Girl, and there's a scene where Jess, the main character, is competing for a man's attention, and she asks her friends for advice. And Winston, one of my favorite characters, gives the advice, just be there. It was at a wedding, and he said when he goes to get food, be there. When he goes to get a drink, be there. When he goes to the dance floor, be there. Be a part of the conversations. Be a part of the communities, sharing value. If you show up multiple times, that's how you earn trust. People aren't going to trust you. Developers won't trust you innately just from seeing you or getting value from you one time. They want to know it's real. They want to know it's genuine by multiple touch points. They've seen you give a conference talk. They've seen you on a YouTube video. They've heard you on a podcast. They've seen you answer someone's question. You've answered their question. You did a one-on-one with them, whatever it is. Just be there. Be a part of all of those conversations. All right. If you are interested in the slides from today, you can find the information about the talk as well as the slides on my website at jamesqquick.com/talks. Lastly, thank you all for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to have you listen to me for a few minutes. I think we've got about 10 minutes for questions, so I will stick around and answer any of those. But one last thank you for being here. I really appreciate the